Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will shake the entire Love and Hip Hop universe. The cameras were rolling, but no one expected this. A secret so explosive it didn't just cause whispers. It set the entire cast on fire. Fans thought they'd seen every scandal, every betrayal, every messy storyline possible. But what went down behind the scenes made everything before look like child's play. It wasn't just drama for the show. It was real life crashing into reality TV, and at the center, a love triangle nobody saw coming. Tears, rage, and shocking betrayals, captured when the mics were still hot. This isn't rumor. This is chaos. Caught in the spotlight. It all began with a post. Not a press release, not a statement, just one late-night Instagram story. Masika shared a photo with a glass of champagne in her hand, wearing a sly half-smile. The caption read, "Some people's marriages aren't what they seem." She didn't mention names, didn't give details, but it was enough to send fans spiraling. Within minutes, screenshots spread across blogs, and her followers were dissecting every word. Who was she hinting at? Why such a bold statement? And why now? Then came the live. Masika went live for less than 3 minutes. She looked directly at the camera, her eyes sparkling with mischief, her tone dripping with tease. She laughed, leaned in, and said only 2 words. "Ask Yandi." The comments instantly exploded with shocked emojis, fire reactions, and endless questions. Fans begged her for clarity, but she ended the live just as abruptly as it began. No explanations, no follow-up, only silence. With that single move, Masika had dropped a digital bomb, and the countdown to chaos had officially begun. The internet wasted no time. Within hours of Masika's cryptic posts, hashtags began flooding Twitter. Ask Yandi climbed into the trending list, while fan accounts created endless threads of speculation. Some insisted Masika was simply stirring the pot for attention, but others were convinced she had exposed a hidden truth. Screenshots of Yandi and Mendes together at recent events were suddenly under the microscope. Fans zoomed in, analyzing body language, side glances, even matching outfits. Meanwhile, a blurry photo surfaced online showing Masika and Mendes at what looked like the same lounge on the same night. The picture was grainy, the details unclear, but it didn't matter. For the fandom, perception was reality, and the rumors had already taken on a life of their own. The tension finally spilled over when filming resumed. Cast members were seated for what was supposed to be a calm dinner scene, but the energy was thick with suspicion. Cameras caught Masika leaning back in her chair, smirking as she dropped the line that changed everything. Some wives pretend their husbands are faithful, but the streets know better. Gasps echoed around the table, faces froze, forks hit plates, and Yandi's forced smile quickly faded. In that single moment, the storyline crossed from entertainment into dangerous reality. The moment Masika's line aired, the blogs had a feeding frenzy. Gossip sites posted headlines within minutes. Love and hip-hop marriage exposed? Clips of the dinner scene were replayed endlessly, each freeze frame analyzed for reactions. Some commentators argued it was just clever editing, another manufactured scandal for ratings. Others swore the tension on Yandi's face was too raw to be scripted. Fans demanded a response, tagging Yandi nonstop across every platform. But Yandi said nothing. No tweet, no Instagram post, no live session to defend herself. That silence became louder than any denial could have been. Bloggers spun theories, podcasts dissected possibilities, and YouTube reaction videos piled up. Every hour Yandi refused to answer only made the whispers stronger, turning doubt into belief and rumor into a headline that refused to fade. The pressure reached Mendes sooner than expected. At the very next cast dinner, he walked in already on edge, eyes darting at every whisper around the table. The producers wanted drama, and they got it the moment a castmate asked the question everyone was dying to know. "Mendes, is Masika talking about you?" For a moment, he froze. Then he laughed it off, waving his hand as if the idea was absurd. "People love to make up stories," he said, shaking his head. But his tone wasn't convincing. His laugh was forced, his smile tight. The table didn't relax. If anything, it grew colder. Some cast members sided with him immediately, insisting Masika was only chasing attention. Others weren't so sure. The way Mendes avoided eye contact with Yandi didn't go unnoticed, and the silence between them felt heavy, deliberate. Yandi tried to smile, but her eyes gave her away. She picked at her food, said little, and let Mendes do all the talking. To fans, that dinner was more than a denial. It was a performance full of cracks. By the time dessert arrived, the cast was divided into two camps, those protecting Mendes, and those secretly preparing for the truth to explode. Just when the tension seemed to cool, a new spark reignited the fire. A fan uploaded shaky phone footage from outside a club. The clip appeared to show Mendes and Masika in the same parking lot, laughing before slipping into separate cars. Though grainy, it spread like wildfire. Comment sections exploded, tagging Yandi relentlessly. Hours later, whispers leaked from the set. Yandi had broken down in tears backstage, refusing to continue filming. Crew members claimed she locked herself in a dressing room, devastated. For viewers, the storyline had now crossed from scandalous gossip into heartbreaking reality. The producers knew they had lightning in a bottle, and they weren't going to let it fade. That's why the cast brunch was carefully staged. On the surface, it looked like just another group outing. Mimosas, laughter, a sunny rooftop with cameras tucked into every corner. But beneath that glossy setup, tension simmered so loud you could almost hear it. Everyone knew this brunch wasn't about food. It was about fireworks. Masika arrived first, dressed like she owned the scene. Her confidence was undeniable, every step calculated to demand attention. She smiled for the cameras, kissed a few cheeks, and waited. When Mendes and Yandi walked in minutes later, the air shifted instantly. Yandi's body was stiff, her smile polite but forced. Mendes kept his sunglasses on indoors, claiming it was for style, but everyone could see he was hiding something. If not his eyes, then his guilt. The group tried small talk at first. Someone joked about the weather, another about the drinks being too strong. But no one was really listening. Every glance, every pause, circled back to the unspoken scandal that had taken over social media. Finally, Masika leaned forward, her tone playful but sharp enough to cut glass. "So," she said, swirling her mimosa, "should we talk about the posts, or are we all pretending they didn't happen?" The table fell silent. Forks froze midair. Yandi stared at her plate, while Mendes finally removed his sunglasses and narrowed his eyes at Masika. "You love drama too much," he said, his voice low. "That's your brand. Don't drag me into it," Masika laughed, tossing her hair back. "Drag you? Mendes, baby, I don't need to drag you. You walked into this mess all by yourself." Gasps echoed around the table. One castmate covered their mouth. Another whispered, "Oh my God." The cameras zoomed closer, capturing every reaction. Mendes sat up straight, his jaw clenched, ready to fire back. But before he could speak, Yandi finally lifted her head. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of weeks of silence. "So tell me, Mendes, is there something you want to confess?" The question hit harder than any accusation. Mendes hesitated, the pause stretching long enough for producers to know they had struck gold. Masika smiled like a chess player who had cornered her opponent. "See? Even she doesn't believe you." That single line broke Yandi. Her eyes watered and she pushed back her chair, standing up. "I don't have to sit here and be humiliated," she said, her voice shaking. The cameras followed as she stormed away from the table, the heels of her shoes echoing like gunshots across the rooftop. Mendes tried to follow, but Masika stopped him with one final dagger. "Go after her if you want, but the truth will catch up with you no matter how fast you run." The cast exploded after that moment. Some shouted at Masika, accusing her of being messy and cruel. Others turned on Mendes, demanding honesty. One person even said out loud what fans had been whispering online, "If it's not true, why do you look so guilty?" The brunch, meant to be a scene of laughter and bonding, became a battlefield. Drinks were spilled, chairs scraped against the floor, and producers had to step in before it turned into a full-blown brawl. The cameras didn't miss a second. Every tear, every accusation, every icy glare was captured in high definition. By the time it ended, alliances had shifted. Friends became enemies, Enemies became unlikely allies, and the storyline had grown far beyond a single rumor. This wasn't just a spark anymore. It was a wildfire consuming everyone in its path. And the worst part? The brunch wasn't the climax. It was only the beginning of a storm no one could control. After the chaos of the brunch, the producers knew they couldn't let things spiral without control. Ratings were soaring, clips were going viral, but the network wanted more than random explosions. They wanted a structured showdown. Behind the scenes, phone calls were made, contracts were pulled out, and cast members were quietly reminded of their obligations. Mendes was cornered first. A producer sat him down and explained bluntly that silence was no longer an option. Viewers needed clarity, and if he refused to give it, the narrative would destroy him anyway. At the same time, Yandi received her own call. Though she begged for privacy, the producers pressed hard, telling her the audience deserved to hear her voice. Meanwhile, Masika practically begged for the sit-down, claiming she had receipts ready to shake the table. With tension at its peak, the stage was set. The audience wouldn't just get drama, they were about to witness a public reckoning. The sit-down was filmed in a dimly lit lounge, the kind of setting designed to amplify tension. Cast members were seated in a semicircle, drinks untouched, eyes sharp with anticipation. At the center sat Mendes, Yandi, and Masika, 3 points of a triangle that had already fractured beyond repair. The mediator opened with a calm question. "Can we put the rumors to rest tonight?" Mendes leaned forward, insisting once again that Masika was inventing drama. His voice was louder this time, almost desperate, as though volume could replace evidence. Yandi sat motionless, her face unreadable, but her fingers tapped nervously against her glass. Then Masika struck. She pulled out her phone, waving it like a weapon. "You want proof? I've got it right here." The room erupted in gasps. Mendes jumped up, shouting that she was lying, that everything was fabricated. Masika only smirked, scrolling through her screen, claiming she had texts and calls that told the full story. Yandi finally broke her silence. "Enough," she said softly, but the word carried the weight of betrayal. Her voice cracked as she turned toward Mendes. "If there's nothing to hide, why are you so afraid of what's on her phone?" The silence that followed was deafening. Mendes had no answer, only a storm of anger that failed to convince anyone in the room. The sit-down didn't end the way producers hoped. Instead of closure, it cracked the story wide open. Within hours, snippets of the confrontation hit social media. Fans clipped Masika holding her phone, Mendes shouting, and Yandi's trembling voice asking the question no one could ignore. "Why are you so afraid of the truth?" That single line became a meme, a trending hashtag, and a rallying cry for viewers who believed Mendes had finally been exposed. Paparazzi swarmed the cast the very next morning. Mendes was photographed leaving a hotel alone, hood up, face grim. Blogs spun the image as evidence of guilt. Meanwhile, Yandi was spotted in oversized sunglasses, walking quickly through an airport with no ring on her finger. The photos fueled speculation that she had already decided to leave him. Behind the cameras, the fallout was even messier. Cast members chose sides, giving interviews where their words carried heavy subtext. Some defended Mendes, claiming Masika was exaggerating. Others admitted they'd seen things that made them doubt his innocence. Podcasts, gossip channels, and YouTube reactors picked apart every frame of the sit-down, analyzing body language like detectives solving a crime. Yandi remained silent, but her silence was louder than any statement. Fans flooded her comments with encouragement, urging her to walk away, to value herself more than the marriage. Others begged her to speak, to clarify, to confirm what they already believed. But Yandi gave them nothing. Instead, she pulled back from the spotlight, missing appearances, skipping events, and leaving producers scrambling to adjust storylines. Mendes, on the other hand, went on the offensive. He posted a long Instagram caption calling the accusations trash for TV and insisting his family was stronger than lies. But the post backfired. The comments filled with laughing emojis, clown memes, and demands for proof. Screenshots of Masika's hints were reposted beneath his caption, turning his denial into a stage for further humiliation. Masika doubled down. She posted cryptic stories with background music that fans swore matched her situation. A photo of her nails tapping against a phone screen. A selfie with the caption, "Receipts never lie." Each post stirred new speculation, pulling Yandi and Mendes deeper into the chaos. Even family members weren't spared. Yandi's relatives were approached for comments, and while most refused, one cousin hinted that Yandi was going through it and needed space. That tiny admission spread like wildfire, becoming a headline of its own. For every attempt Mendes made to calm the narrative, 2 more fires sparked out of control. The show's producers couldn't have scripted it better. Ratings climbed higher with each episode, and leaked previews promised more confrontations. The reunion special loomed ahead, teased as the moment when all secrets would be revealed. Fans marked their calendars, certain that the truth would finally come out. But behind the fame, the personal cost was devastating. Yandi, once the strong and composed figure of the series, was unraveling. Friends described her as withdrawn, sleepless, and struggling to keep up appearances. Mendes grew angrier in public, snapping at paparazzi, storming away from interviews. Masika, though seemingly thriving in the spotlight, faced her own backlash, accused by some of being vindictive, a troublemaker tearing apart a family. The fallout wasn't just a storyline anymore. It was headlines, memes, arguments in comment sections, and viral debates across platforms. Viewers weren't just watching, they were participating, shaping the narrative, choosing sides like it was a war. And as the days passed, one thing became clear: this wasn't ending anytime soon. The aftermath had only deepened the wounds, and the reunion promised to rip them wide open. Just when it seemed the storm couldn't get any worse, a new player entered the game, an anonymous tipster. A gossip blog posted a blurry screenshot of an email from someone claiming to have inside knowledge. The subject line read, "Check the call logs." The email alleged that Mendes and Masika had been in constant contact for months, with late-night calls that lasted hours. No proof was attached, but the accusation was enough to send fans digging. Within hours, supposed receipts began circulating, screenshots of call histories, timestamps, and contact names that looked suspiciously real. Whether authentic or fabricated, they fueled the fire. Blogs reposted them, podcasts debated them, and Twitter treated them like gospel. Some argued it was all doctored, an elaborate attempt to frame Mendes. Others swore the evidence was airtight, pointing to dates and times that lined up perfectly with moments Mendes claimed he was elsewhere. Yandi stayed silent once again, but her absence spoke volumes. Fans begged her to respond, but she gave nothing. Masika, on the other hand, fanned the flames with a single tweet. "Told y'all receipts never lie." The reunion special was now more than anticipated television. It had become a trial, and the world was waiting for the verdict. The reunion stage glowed under bright lights, but the energy in the room was heavy, electric with anticipation. Cast members shifted nervously in their seats, knowing the world was watching. Mendes sat stiffly, his jaw clenched, while Yandi avoided his eyes, arms folded tight across her chest. Masika entered last, striding in with confidence that only fueled the tension. The host wasted no time, diving straight into the rumors. Call logs were brought up, screenshots flashed across the screen, and the anonymous tipster's email was read aloud. Gasps erupted from the audience as Mendes struggled to keep his composure. He called the evidence fake, a setup for TV drama, but his words felt thin against the mounting pressure. Yandi, finally breaking her silence, spoke with trembling calm. "I don't know what's real anymore, but I know I deserve honesty." The crowd roared in approval, turning the moment into a declaration of strength. Mendes lowered his gaze, while Masika simply smiled, as if satisfied the truth had already spoken for itself. The episode ended with no resolution, just a teaser. Next week, the reunion continues, secrets revealed, alliances shattered. Viewers were left breathless, desperate for the next chapter.